A client delivery is due Thursday, and the only proof it is on track is a scattered mix of starred messages, open tabs, and notes you meant to sort later. The danger is not that you are lazy. The danger is that invisible work keeps making claims on your attention until the deadline becomes the first honest planning tool. The diagnostic question is simple. What will break if this stays invisible until Friday? The CALM framework for solo operators answers that question with a working artifact, not a mood. It turns scattered obligations into a CALM board with 4 zones: capture, align, limit, and maintain. By the end of one pass, you can produce a visible operating board that shows what exists, what matters, what is active, and what must change before the next similar week. Disorganization persists because solo work often rewards immediate reaction. A message arrives, a file needs revision, an idea appears while another task is half finished. Each item feels small enough to hold mentally, so the operator avoids the friction of placing it somewhere. The common fix is a longer task list, but a list without boundaries becomes another inbox. It records pressure without deciding sequence. The real loss is not only missed deadlines, it is the erosion of judgment. When every item looks equally available, reversible decisions and high-consequence decisions compete on the same surface. A minor formatting change can receive the same attention as a proposal that protects next month's revenue. CALM separates symptoms from causes. The symptom is overwhelm. The cause is unclassified work entering execution before it has passed through a decision gate. CALM is a 4-gate operating system. Capture means every loose obligation enters one intake shelf before it receives attention. Align means each captured item must connect to a current outcome or be deferred, deleted, or parked. Limit means only a small number of aligned items are allowed to consume active focus. Maintain means the board is repaired after reality touches it. The artifact is the CALM board, intake shelf, outcome map, 3-slot active box, and maintenance ledger. Its main rule is deliberately strict. Nothing enters active work until it has a clear outcome, one next physical action, and a rough effort estimate. The active box holds 3 items as a practical default. A 4th appears only when one item is blocked by another person. This does not remove uncertainty. It changes which decisions happen before work starts instead of after attention has already been spent. Capture is used when a request, idea, obligation, or concern appears while you are doing something else. It is not the moment to solve the item. It is the moment to stop it from becoming background noise. Place it on the intake shelf in a short form you can understand later. Source, desired outcome, and trigger date if one exists. The rule works because attention does not need to keep rehearsing an item once the system holds it. It fails when capture becomes disguised planning, because then every interruption receives a private meeting. Use capture for incoming work and loose thoughts. Do not use it for emergencies that require immediate action or for decisions already inside the active box. The decision changes from "should I handle this now?" to "has this been made visible enough to judge later?" That is the first movement from mental inventory to operating inventory. Align is where the board becomes selective. Each captured item is tested against the outcome map, which contains the few outcomes currently worth protecting. The question is not whether the item is useful. Useful work can still be mistimed. The selection criterion is sharper. If this item is completed this cycle, which current outcome becomes safer, clearer, or finished? If no answer appears, the item stays out of active work. The trade-off is real. Aligning may delay a clever idea, a small favor, or a tidy improvement because it does not serve the current operating season. This is where the midpoint self-audit belongs. Inspect each active item. It must show one outcome, one next action, one effort estimate, and one reason it deserves attention now. Missing any mark sends it back to intake or into deferment. Align works because it protects consequence, not preference. It fails when every goal is declared equally current. Consider a solo maker preparing a small product launch for an independent software tool. The context is tight. The checkout page, onboarding email, pricing page, and launch note all need work before a Friday release. The visible constraint is 12 available work hours and one dependency on a contractor for final screenshots. On the COM board, the maker captures every loose item first, including a new feature idea and a request to rewrite the help center. Align removes the feature idea because it does not protect the launch outcome. The 3-slot active box receives checkout test, pricing page, and launch note. The onboarding email waits because screenshots are blocked. The action is focused execution on those 3 slots, with the 4th slot allowed only for the blocked onboarding item. The trade-off is leaving the help center imperfect. The measurable output is a tested checkout path, a revised pricing page, and a ready launch note. The takeaway: the board did not make the launch easy. It made the sacrifice visible early. Limit is the gate most solo operators resist because it makes capacity visible. The 3-slot active box is not a statement about human potential. It is a design constraint. 3 active items create enough variety for a real workday while still making overload obvious. The rule works by preventing partial attention from pretending to be progress. It fails when the slots become categories instead of commitments. Marketing is not a slot. Draft the launch note opening can be. The decision changes from "what else can I add" to "what must leave, shrink, or wait before this enters." Reversible decisions may sit outside the box until review. High consequence decisions need a slot or a scheduled judgment point. The trade-off is slower acceptance of new work. The benefit is that the work already accepted receives a surface where completion can happen. Now take a consultant preparing a strategic workshop for a client. The context is imperfect. The workshop is in 6 days, the client sends late survey answers, and a family appointment removes one afternoon. The visible constraint is 4 preparation blocks, not the full week. The consultant captures every requirement, then aligns only the items that protect the workshop outcome: agenda flow, decision exercises, stakeholder examples, and a final facilitation guide. The active box starts with agenda flow, decision exercises, and stakeholder examples. The plan fails on day 2 when the survey answers arrive with contradictions. Instead of expanding the box, the consultant moves stakeholder examples back to intake and uses the freed slot to resolve the contradictions with the client. The trade-off is a less polished visual deck. The inspectable output is a shorter facilitation guide with verified decision points. In Maintain, the ledger records that client input arriving inside the final week requires a buffer slot next time. The next similar workshop starts with a protected response window, not a wish. Calm fails in predictable ways. The first failure is hoarding. The intake shelf becomes a storage closet and nothing is aligned. Respond with a daily 10-minute clearing pass, not a redesign. The second failure is laundering preferences through outcomes. If every captured item is linked to a goal, the outcome map is too broad. Remove or merge outcomes until choices hurt a little. The third failure is breaking the active box whenever anxiety rises. That converts the board into decoration. When urgency appears, either replace a slot, shrink an active item, or name the emergency as the work. The fourth failure is skipping Maintain because the week is over. That discards the only evidence that can improve the next cycle. The board cannot solve unclear values, chronic overcommitment, or external chaos. It can show where those forces are entering the work. Return to the Thursday delivery and the original diagnostic question: what will break if this stays invisible until Friday? With Calm, the answer no longer depends on memory. The board shows the risk. Capture every loose obligation before it steals attention. Align each item to a current outcome or keep it out of execution. Limit active work to 3 concrete commitments, with a 4th only for a block dependency. Maintain the ledger by recording what took longer, what interrupted the plan, and what constraint changes next time. These takeaways are small enough to use tomorrow and strict enough to change a real decision. The transformation is visible. Scattered work becomes parked, aligned, active, or reviewed. The cost does not disappear and the workload may still be heavy, but the operator is no longer discovering the truth at the deadline. The next similar week begins with a board that remembers what the last week taught.